The Curse of Niroro Kaido. The shores of Yogyakarta were alive with tourists. The waves crashed against the sand, the salty air filling the lungs of those who had come to enjoy the beauty of the southern coast. It was a stunning scene, one of those postcard perfect views. Sarah, a tourist from Australia, had booked a vacation in Yogyakarta after hearing about the exotic beaches and vibrant culture. The legends surrounding the southern seas were nothing but folklore to her. Local warnings, especially about Niroro Kaido, the queen of the southern sea, were treated as entertaining stories meant to spice up the culture of the area. After all, who could believe that a sea goddess would drag people to their doom for something as silly as wearing green? The sun was setting, casting an orange hue over the waves, but Sarah wanted one last swim. As she stood on the edge of the water in her green swimsuit, a local vendor passing by paused, his face draining of color. Miss, please, he begged, his voice trembling. Do not wear green in the ocean, especially now, near nightfall. Niroro Kaido will see you as one of her own. She will come for you. Sarah chuckled, dismissing him with a wave. I don't believe in that nonsense, she replied, and before the man could say more, she dove into the cool, inviting waters of the southern sea. The water felt perfect, wrapping around her like a silk embrace. But as she swam further, an odd sensation crept into her bones, a chilling cold that seemed unnatural. The sun was now a mere sliver on the horizon, and the sky darkened quickly. Sarah paused, treading water, looking around. A wave rolled in, larger than the others, crashing near her with a violent hiss. Then she saw it. A flash of deep green beneath the waves, moving far too fast to be a trick of the light. She froze. The temperature around her plummeted, and the once gentle waves became aggressive, pulling her further from the shore. Panic surged through her as she tried to swim back, but the current seemed to have a mind of its own, dragging her deeper into the ocean. It was as though invisible hands were gripping her legs, pulling her under. Suddenly, the water went deathly still, and an eerie silence filled the air. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she treaded water, scanning her surroundings. That's when she saw her, emerging from the ocean like a specter. A woman cloaked in green silk, her long black hair floating unnaturally in the water. Her face was beautiful but twisted, with rage, her eyes burning with a malevolent fire. Sarah gasped. She had heard of Niroro Kaido, the queen of the southern sea, but she had never believed she would see her. Yet, here she was, floating just above the surface, her arms outstretched, beckoning Sarah toward her. Sarah thrashed in the water, trying to swim back, but it was too late. The sea had become a living thing, her enemy. Invisible tendrils of water wrapped around her ankles, pulling her under. She kicked and screamed, but the water filled her mouth, choking her. The ocean's depths called to her, pulling her into the dark abyss. The next thing she remembered was waking up on the beach, coughing up seawater, her body covered in cold sweat. The beach was deserted, the night dark and silent except for the gentle lapping of the waves. Sarah shivered as she stood, her legs shaky, her mind spinning. Somehow, she had survived. But something was wrong. Her skin felt different. Looking down, she gasped. Tiny green strands of seaweed were wrapped around her arms and legs, clinging to her like second skin. She yanked at them, but they seemed to be growing out of her flesh. She screamed, tearing at her arms, but no matter how hard she tried, no matter how hard she pulled, the tendrils remained embedded in her skin. Her mind raced, desperate to rationalize what had happened. Was this some bizarre side effect of nearly drowning? But the real horror came that night as she slept. Sarah dreamed of the ocean, dark, endless, and cold. In the distance, she could hear Niroro Kaido's voice, whispering her name, beckoning her to return to the sea. In her dreams, the queen emerged from the depths, her eyes glowing with unnatural light. As she reached out to Sarah, her voice was like a hiss. You belong to me now. Sarah jolted awake, drenched in sweat, her heart pounding in her chest. But the horror hadn't ended with the dream. Her body felt stiff and cold. When she threw off her blanket, she screamed in terror. Her legs were covered in green scales, sleek and shining in the dim light. The seaweed that clung to her was now growing, spreading over her body like a parasite. She scrambled to the bathroom, looking in the mirror with wide, horrified eyes. Her reflection stared back, but it wasn't her anymore. Her eyes were hollow, bloodshot, and her skin, what was left of it, was pale, streaked with patches of green, as if the ocean itself had begun to consume her. The days that followed were a waking nightmare. Each morning, more of her body was taken over by the green scales, and each night the dreams of Nyororo Kaido grew more intense. The queen would appear, her hands outstretched, her face twisted with rage. Return to me, she will whisper, her voice echoing like the roar of the ocean. Sarah would try to run, but each time she was dragged back into the depths, her screams swallowed by the waves. She tried everything, local healers, doctors, even priests, but nothing worked. The curse had taken root. Her body, once her own, was slowly transforming into something monstrous, something inhuman. One night, Sarah woke up to a new horror. The seaweed that had overtaken her legs was now creeping up her throat. She gasped for air, feeling the slimy tendrils slither inside her mouth, choking her from the inside. In the reflection of a bathroom mirror, she saw Niroro Kaido standing behind her, smiling that same twisted smile. watching as Sarah struggled for her breath. Her body convulsed as she tore at her throat, the seaweed wrapping tighter and tighter. Desperate, she fled to the beach, hoping that returning to the ocean would somehow break the curse. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the water. She stood at the edge of the shore, staring out into the dark abyss. "I'm here!" she screamed into the night, her voice hoarse and broken. "Take me!" The waves began to churn violently, as if the ocean itself was answering her call. From the depths, Niroro Kaido emerged, her green silk gown billowing like a storm cloud, her eyes glowing with the fury of 1,000 lost souls. "You belong to me," her voice, the queen whispered, her voice carried on the wind. Sarah felt her legs give way, the weight of the sea pulling her down. The water rose up to meet her, dragging her into its depths. The moment her skin touched the waves, the transformation was complete. Her body contorted in agony as the seaweed and scales overtook her completely, turning her into one of Niroro Kaido's lost souls, bound to the ocean for eternity. Her last breath was swallowed by the sea as she disappeared beneath the waves, her body claimed by the curse of the Queen of the Southern Sea. The ocean was silent once more, and the beach was empty, as if nothing had ever happened. Days later, the local fisherman found Sarah's green swimsuit washed up on the shore. There was no sign of a body, only the whispers of those who knew the legend of Niroro Kaido. The Southern Sea had claimed another soul, and the waves continued to crash, indifferent to the lives they consumed. Tourists would come and go, unaware of the curse that lurked beneath the surface, waiting for the next foolish soul to defy the queen. And in the depths of the ocean, Sarah's hollow eyes stared up from the darkness, forever bound to the will of Niroro Kaido. Her screams drowned out by the endless roar of the sea.